Before I get started on this one, quick note, yes, it's relatively poorly lit. That's because I'm currently feeding a baby that's half asleep, so that's all good. Anyway, Leeds United are potentially looking at improving their number 9 this summer, with Lucas Mecha on a very short contract, Calvert-Lewin on an equally sort of short contract, and us sort of looking for a little bit of a different profile up top. And reports yesterday from various locations, including Team Talk, have stated that Leeds are looking at signing Ayase Ueda. In this video, I'm going to talk through who Ueda is, his sort of style of play, because I've done a little bit of research into him, what the potential issues with signing him could be, what this tells us about the wider strategy, and ultimately whether or not I think we should get this move done. So, to start with, first of all, like and subscribe and all that stuff. If you're not subscribed yet, please do. That'd be massively appreciated. But Ueda is a 27-year-old striker that is currently playing for Feyenoord over in Eredivisie. Eredivisie is the top league in Holland, and I would say is probably maybe the 6th best league in Europe, something along those lines. It's in the conversation. It's alongside sort of Liga Portugal, that sort of level, so it's not bad in the slightest. Ueda has 29 appearances so far this season. He's 6 foot tall. And he's managed to get himself 25 goals and an assist, which is genuinely very, very good returns for a league that is not bad in the slightest. It is a genuinely very competitive division. In terms of his style of play, there's a few little interesting things that I've noted when I was looking into him. First of all, obviously, finishing is top notch. The fact that he scored 25 goals, got himself an assist within 29 matches, says that his return is very, very strong. If he's got a half a chance, he will turn it into a full chance, and if he's got a full chance, he'll turn it into a goal. Absolutely spectacular stuff. He's gotten a lot of these chances from being very effective playing off the shoulder, so his running from relatively deep is very good. Got a decent bit of pace to him, and he will outfox even the wiliest of centre-backs, which is beautiful stuff. However, even against sides that aren't giving him the space to run behind, he's fairly good at the hold-up play. He's good at receiving the ball back to goal and just laying it off again for the number 10 or for one of the wingers to create an opportunity for someone else. On the subject of creating opportunities for someone else, he's also got very, very solid passing range. His ability to sort of hold at the edge of the opponent's third and ping a ball out to the wing in order to sort of rework the attack and provide a different angle for the front line is something that we find quite valuable at Leeds United. Like, the amount of times that we will pass the ball backwards just to go around or to break a press or something along those lines. We tried it a few times in the second half against Chelsea, but having a forward who is able to just do that themselves is obviously an advantage that I think would go significantly underrated in a lot of sides. So I think Ueda is massively beneficial to a prospective Leeds side going forwards based on that. In essence, his profile is very much that of a second striker. If you're playing a 4-4-2, for example, picture your Crouch and your Rooney, he's the Rooney. Crouch holds the ball up a little bit, is the obvious target man for the long ball, with your Rooney, or in this case Ueda, working off them, which I think is something that is incredibly valuable to our squad right now. If you have a look at our centre forwards, it is Mecha or Calvert-Lewin. Mainly because Okafor prefers playing on the wing, so when you've got Mecha and Calvert-Lewin on the pitch at the same time, they're very similar. It's very much ping the ball up top and hope it sticks without someone really going over them, which is something that I think the signing of Ueda potentially fixes. Sorry, the baby's being rather loud with the bottle. But that's fine, you're going to have to deal with it because, let's be honest, she's incredibly important. Having Ueda to just sort of make the run off Calvert-Lewin or make the run off Mecha means that it's not just a case of Calvert-Lewin takes the ball down and then looks for a pass. It's a case of he can now flick it on past the centre-back and there's someone there, rather than just sort of slowing things down a little bit, which I think is useful to have, and it shows the profile that we want to sign, even if Ueda isn't the guy that we end up properly signing going forwards. But there are some challenges to signing Ueda, which isn't the most pleasant of things, but that's always going to be the case in the world of football. Primarily the fact that there is also plenty of interest from other places. Now, to be clear before we talk about that interest, fact of the matter is Feyenoord look like they are potentially going to be selling this summer. There is already a lot of interest from them in Kasper Dolberg, who is another centre forward, and it seems like they're lining up replacements already. So it seems to say Ueda is going to find a move somewhere this coming summer. Where that specifically is, I'll get into in a moment. But they're preparing for a departure, which is very much promising if we're looking at getting him on board, and especially when you consider that he had a 4-year contract when he signed there 2 years ago, hasn't extended. Guy's only got a 2-year contract. If they wait another year, his value drops through the floor, and the Dutch First Division isn't especially flush with cash. So if you've got a player that is performing to this standard, is going to perform to that standard at the World Cup, I believe, and is already highly in demand, this summer is the one where they sell. And they sell presumably to a Premier League side, because there's been rumoured interest from all across Europe, but the Premier League is where a lot of that interest is, because Leeds United are keeping a very, very close eye on him. However, there is also interest from Everton, who are looking for a centre-forward, with Thierry Barry being relatively disappointing for them. There's interest from Fulham, with Raul Jimenez very much getting on a little bit at this point in his career. There's interest from Brighton, who are currently playing Jorginho Rutter at number 9 relatively often, and the other option is Danny Welbeck, who is also getting on quite a bit, so they're looking to make a replacement as well. And also I've heard word of Spurs having a little bit of a look at him as well. Spurs, sure, are in with a shot, but it's going to be quite hard to sign him when they're down in the Championship. But all of that sort of opposition for the signing means that it's not going to be the easiest moves for Leeds United to get done. It's one that I still very much believe that we can do. Like, there's been a little bit of conversation around the fact that Outanaka being in our squad gives us a little bit of an advantage over Fulham and Everton at the very least, because there's a presence there to make him feel a little bit more at home. However, Karu Matoma being at Brighton also makes that a little bit complicated. If you also have a look at where Brighton are in the league right now, I'm just going to make sure that I've got this right, because I know that part of the table is ridiculously congested, and it's quite hard to say specifically which side is where in the league up there. Brighton are currently in 6th. They're not going to get into the Champions League. That is basically sorted by now. But 6th at the end of the season gets in the Europa League. 7th, Europa League or the Conference League, with 8th potentially getting a Conference League spot as well. It's going to be difficult to fight against someone who already has a link from the international team and European football, but I think we're not too far away from getting something done. He joined Feyenoord for £8.7 million. I've seen numbers of around sort of 15, 20, £25 million for this guy. He's not going to be someone that absolutely breaks the bank. We're not going to need to make a new transfer record, and it's the sort of thing that we look to do. Find the players where there is a talented footballer there for a reasonable amount of value. If a guy of the same level was playing in the Premier League, you'd be asked to pay 40 to 50 million quid. I think this is a move that we would absolutely want to get done, and if we can do, there is no drawback that I see other than it might take a little bit of time to adapt, but that is completely normal and would be the case for anyone that we sign. So, ISA Ueda, I think, is a fantastic player that we should very much look at getting on board, and I very much look forward to playing in tandem with Outanaka, not just at the World Cup, but next season for Leeds United in the Premier League. Anyway, as always, that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Should we sign Ueda? Should we be looking for a more sort of recognisable name? If you enjoyed, pop a like on the video, subscribe if you're not yet, even be a channel member, that's absolutely lovely. I'm going to finish feeding a baby. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.